If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This is another of our popular Listener's Choice interviews, which we're playing over the weekend. We've chosen the most popular interviews for you to select the Listener's Choice winner. If you're not sure how the Listener's Choice competition works, have a look at horsechats.com/choice for the rules and the leaderboard. Our guest today is Anne Behringer. Anne started initially riding and eventing and competing in eventing, but now she's specialising as a dressage competitor, trainer and coach, and she's competing up to Grand Prix. How are you today, Anne?
I'm well, thanks, Glenys.
Wonderful. And we start off normally with a favourite quote. Have you got one for us?
Well, it depends what's going on at the time. I've got several favourites.
That's okay. Yeah, tell us your first couple. Yeah.
Well, it depends, like I say, whether it's the horse or the rider, but hasten slowly and a day at a time and those sort of things.
Yep.
And I think probably with our dressage horses or any work in general with horses, it's the song of Kenny Rogers. You've got to know when to hold up and when to fold up a bit, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So it just depends what's going on at the time, I guess.
Okay. Now, both of these, the Hasten Slowly and One Day at a Time and also the Kenny Rogers one, do you say that to your students? Do you say that to them at any stage, or is it more something that you do when you're training your own horses?
Both, really. I often say those quotes quite often, depending what's going on within the lesson, because it can, know when to hold up or when to fold up, depending if things are going wrong and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
And I think it's both my training and also my teaching as well.
Yep. Tell us about your very first memories with horses. How old were you?
Probably I can remember when I was really small, and my mum and dad actually used to say that I used to hold my breath when I saw horses. So I don't quite remember that part. But yes, I sort of had the bug right from early stages, like from when I was 4 and that sort of thing, I could imagine. Yeah.
Do you have like an early memory of something that may have happened?
I can remember when I had my first canter.
Okay, how was that?
We had at the side of our house, I was sort of used to ride the horse down to the rails.
Mm-hmm.
So that's letting on the age a bit, because you didn't have gates so much then. You had rails.
Yep.
Anyhow, I'd walk down and trot back up the paddock, and then one day I was game enough when I turned round and Dandy, we got into a canter, so I can really honestly remember that.
That's great. But you're grinning from ear to ear. I can almost see you now.
Yeah.
Okay, now from Dandy, just tell us a little bit about your progression. When did you decide to actually have a career with horses? Was it when you were young? Was it a gradual thing? Did it come on all of a sudden, or did you have another career first? How did that work out?
Well, no, I was actually when I was at school, and I can remember when I was it was first form then, or anyhow, what would be year 7 now, I suppose, and they asked, what did you want to do? And I said that I wanted to be an instructor and train horses. And then that wasn't like a popular thing to do, but anyhow, I sort of eventually, while I was at school and that, I actually worked with Neil Lavis as a Gillaroo.
Oh, great.
And so that sort of started me on the path. And then while I was at Neil's, that was when I was eventing a fair bit then, and with the National Coaching and Accreditation Scheme, and I've become a coach through all that.
Yep, good. So if someone wants to work in the horse industry now and thinking about what you had when you were in first form at school, what sort of core skills or character traits do they need?
Look, you have to be, patience is a big thing, and understanding, and it is hard work. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's hard physical work, and it's a mental thing as well. Like as a rider or a trainer, you've got to think about, all that sort of thing. And I think these days there's more out there where you can sort of be accommodated to all those things now, than when we were, probably.
Yep. Okay. So what advice would you give them as far as being prepared for the hard physical work and having patience and understanding it? Would you give people any advice on how to gain that?
Yeah, well, probably if you've got an opportunity to go and work, work experience type things in different places and stables and all that type of thing, and to find out whether you actually realise when you're at places, bigger establishments and that sort of thing, of, the early starts and the hard work besides the fun things like going to and competing. But you need to find that out early on, because I just feel that if you get an idea and if you really love it and have a passion for it, well, you go with it.
Yeah. What do you think's the best thing about working in the horse industry?
Oh, look, like I say, it is hard work, but it's enjoyable and you get a lot of satisfaction and you meet some lovely people and you also get to go around the countryside, whether it's sort of in your general area or maybe have opportunities if you're good enough to get on teams and have all that type of experience as well.
Yep.
So it's a good lifestyle, and I mean, there's ups and downs, but there's ups and downs in everything anyhow. So
yeah. All right, you talked about Neil Davis. Has there been anyone else you think that sort of influenced you and given you the right guidance along the way and helped you in your career?
Yeah, definitely, like Neil and Velma Davis both. So that was a wonderful opportunity to work at their place. Also, my parents, they were very, very supportive in whatever, because I decided to go pursue the equestrian side of things. And also Di and Peter Jenkins from Queensland. They used to be in Wagga, but they're in Queensland now. And also another person that influenced me a lot, she's passed away now, and that was Judy Cubitt.
Okay, yep, for sure.
And actually her quote, that hasten slowly and a day at a time, actually come from Judy. So
that's good.
And also when you were doing a 20-metre circle, quarter of a circle at a time.
Okay, yes. When she was telling you that, do you remember a particular instance, like what you were doing or your horse was doing, that made her say that?
Yeah, well, she happened to be in our area and she'd always come out and have a look and see whatever horses I was riding at a time. And she'd say, don't get too in front of yourself, like ride the correct quarter of your circle. When you get to that spot, finish the next quarter and the next quarter, and then that, it just made sense.
Yep.
And it clicked,
Good.
And you can use that in lots of other places as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, sort of break it down to your, especially to your dressage test, you could probably break it down to every stride, couldn't you, that you want to keep improving each stride. Yeah.
That's right, exactly.
Okay, now what about horses? Have you got a horse that might have influenced you in your career?
Well, a horse that I invented, and he actually, did 3-day events and all that sort of thing. He was a hard horse. Like, I was young at the time, and he didn't show jump as well, but he ended up being very successful eventer, and he was fantastic cross country, and he was quite good at dressage too. Show jumping was his weak spot, but when we got it right on the day, he was a really tough, good horse.
What was his name?
Geneva.
Okay.
Was his name.
Yep.
And then the horse that I took to Grand Prix, that was I've Got Rhythm, and his stable name was Frog. And the father actually saw him. He was a thoroughbred, and he saw him. He was a New Zealand thoroughbred actually, and a local trainer had him. And Dad used to help Nancy Jones out for a little bit, and she trained him. And he said that's the type of horse that Anne wanted as a dressage horse, because he was just a really good type. He looked more like a warm blood.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Dad passed away, but Nancy gave me the horse, and he ended up going from preliminary to Grand Prix.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And tell me why he got his name Frog. Why'd you call him Frog?
Well, He was chestnut with white blaze, and had a little bit of a Roman nose, and he had big eyes. And when Nancy saw him, she said he looks like a bullfrog. And then he got frog for short.
Okay. All right. Now, taking him to Grand Prix and doing some 3-day eventing on Geneva, what do you think your proudest moment? Has it been one of those, or has it been something else?
Look, in actual fact, there's probably certainly the journey with Frog in Geneva.
Mm-hmm.
They're really special and all that. And then I can even, if you just ride a test that really clicks, it might only be a preliminary test or whatever, and everything goes right. And you get goosebumps when it's just right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah. And there's been a few horses that it's just everything's clicked.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you're feeling pretty proud right then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now thinking about where you are now, has there been challenges? Well, I'm sure there would have been. What do you think is your biggest challenge to get to where you are now?
I don't know. Where we live, it's always a distance and that, but there's getting more competitions around here, certainly the distance, and probably, it would be nice to be able to go to more comps, but you're sort of limited a little bit sometimes too, so that's sometimes a bit of a challenge, but you can always work your way through it anyhow.
Yep. Okay. So if someone's got, how far were you travelling? Were you travelling hours or days, or how far?
Oh, look, it's nothing compared if you're in the territory or something like that, But the thing is, our closest comp is probably Canberra, 3 hours. Nowra, they have comps, and that lovely complex at Borley Point just up the road from us now, they're having quite good comps there, so it's getting easier all the time.
Yep.
And then if with our Clarendon official competitions, well, for us, depending on the traffic and when you leave, it's like a 5.5 hour, 6 hour trip.
Yep.
You just do what you have to do. That's just it.
So what would you say to someone who said, oh, no, I can't compete anymore because it's just too hard. For some reason there's just no way I can compete because it's too far away. So what would you say to them?
Well, it's a big thing to sort of, depending on how settled you are in an area and all that sort of thing,
yep.
Even if you mightn't, if you could keep training and even if you couldn't go to a comp every month,
yep.
just try to pace it that you could pick your good comps and ones that are worthwhile and official or whatever stage you might be at with your horse.
Yeah. So keep doing the training at home, even if you can just get to a few each year. Yeah.
Yep. Try to just pick your comps that you can pick up if you desire to go, compete officially. Well, you want to be able to go to official comps, but if you're just happy to just go to competitive places, well, with whatever you're at
yep.
with your training and at whatever stage, you mightn't have to do it every month, but every second or third month, if you're happy to still keep doing that.
Sure. And thinking about you as a coach now, when you're out competing or with your own students, what's a common fault that you see, and also how can it be fixed?
Sometimes the training, or you hope it goes reasonably well at home. And having said that, if everything's going okay after what we said about, the distance thing, but if
yep.
you've got the availability to go to competitions, the more you can get in that competitive environment, and it's like it's exposure to competition and pressures of competition that will help improve all that so that it becomes second nature to be able to go to a comp and you have your plan about, I'm going to do this, this and this. And then the more you do that, the easier it'll become.
Wait, can you hear anything? No? That's because we're waiting for someone with a good quality horse product to be advertised here. If that's you, then contact us, horsechats@horsechats.com, and we'll send you the details. Thanks. So if you've got a rider and you're preparing them for a competition, someone that you're teaching, What's a common thing that you might see with your riders, and not necessarily one specific rider, but it's a common fault that you do see with riders when you're preparing for a competition?
Well, probably you get a little bit, try to keep it as like what you're doing at home, and try to think about, sometimes you see it goes super, and it happens to me too, at home, and you're trying to sort of keep it the same. So whether it's the nerve or the pressure environment, and you've always got to have a bit of a backup plan, because always there'll be something that pops up. And probably I think if you can sort of keep your horse's attention, keep your leg on, you know, by using all your training while you're at home, and when you go to a comp, you might forget about those good basic things that you've learnt.
Like a quarter of a circle at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you sort of get a bit stage frighty or whatever, and if you sort of break it down and get it in your mind that I can do this at home, I can do it here. And, you know, you've got to sort of get that mental preparation happening.
Yep. So if you're riding and training at home, and then you ride and train exactly the same way at competitions, then it's going to be a lot easier. The horse is going to be a lot more confident as well, aren't they? Yeah.
That's right. If they get a bit spooky or a bit whatever, if you can train them at home, I mean, it'll still happen. But if you've got that good basic foundation with your training, hopefully, if you can get through the nervy part and all that it's just the same out. And I'm just going to be able to do that. And they know the aids, so yeah.
Yep. And have you got a book that you can recommend to our listeners just to help them with their training?
A friend of mine gave me a lend of this book, and it's the Carl Hester book, Making It Happen.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's the autobiography, I suppose you could say, but I think even reading that, it makes you realise he never had it easy either.
No.
And you can actually, little pieces in that book, you can actually pick up bits for training and thinking about horses and why horses do things and stuff like that. I think it's a sort of book that you can read over and over again.
Yep. And it's nice to know that he didn't have it easy, that it wasn't just all laid out for him, that everyone's got their challenges, so you can't compare yourself to anyone else. You can just do the best with what you've got.
That's exactly right, yes.
And remember, you can find all the books recommended by our guests at horsechats.com/books. You can have a look at the guest page for the individual book they recommended, or just look at the recommended books by order of popularity at horsechats.com/books. Now, Anne, you've got a couple of young horses you're bringing on. What are you looking forward to with them, and what level are they competing at now?
I've got mare that's competing medium level, and I've got they're horses that we've bred ourselves. They're full brother and sister, and the gelding, he's novice elementary level. He hasn't had a start elementary yet, but he's hopefully not far away with that.
It's always special, isn't it? If you've got one that you've bred, it's not just one that you've sort of broken in and got going, but one that you've actually bred. And wow, having a full brother and sister, that would be nice to have them out. Are they similar looking?
No, they're not actually. Ruby, she's the first foal, and she's 16 hands, and she's brown and 4 white socks and a little bit of white on her forehead. And then Rocky, he's actually bay, got the 4 white socks again and a bit of a star and a stripe, and he's 17 too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really pleased with and excited with both of them.
Yeah, it sounds good. Good. Now, if you could sum up your philosophy into a message for our listeners, a philosophy with horses, that would be great.
Yeah, well, probably, I think where there's a will, there's a way. And it's just hard work, but you just keep chipping away at it. And the other thing too, you just got to, with all this, you've still got to enjoy it. And sort of make the best of what you've got, whether it's your horse and getting to comps and all that sort of thing, and have fun, the bottom line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I think, have fun. That's the reason that we get into it in the first place, is to have fun, to enjoy
That's
ourselves.
right.
And
I mean, we it's lovely, the success, I mean, that's wonderful. And there's a lot of knocks before you get to the success. It makes it, that's wonderful, but you've got to be able to sort of take the knocks with the good stuff too.
Makes you appreciate the good stuff more.
Exactly. That's right, Glenys.
Yeah. Okay, and how can people contact you?
Probably the best way would be just my mobile number.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mobile, or my email, I suppose. I'm probably more with the mobile, to be quite honest. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we'll put those details on your page at Horse Chats. So it'll be horsechats.com/Anne Behringer, or just go to horsechats.com and search for Anne, and it's Anne without the E.
That's correct, Glenys, yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for talking to us today. I've enjoyed talking to you. I'm sort of thinking that you really enjoy your lifestyle and the level of satisfaction you're getting with your horses. I'm very excited about your full brother and sister, and, hope you go well with them as well. So thanks for talking to us, Anne, and hopefully we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Okay, Glenys, thanks very much.
Okay, bye.
Okay, good night.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com, and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.